glad to have you all on stage, and it's wonderful that you are joining us for an event like this. You've been recognized as one of the top marketeers in the country, and I'm very happy to share the stage with you here. All right, so on that note, it is very evident that the role of a CMO is undergoing transformative changes in the past years. What was once limited to just campaign execution and brand building is now actually driving growth, influencing the business strategy, and also shaping customer expectations, if we may say so. So with these evolving KPIs, the rise of AI, and the demand for cross-functional collaboration, I think the CMO of today is expected to wear the many hats, that of a strategist, an innovator, a leader, and also a technologist, right? So on that note, I would want to understand from the leading marketeers on how they look at the next generation of marketing leadership, as well as how are they preparing themselves and their teams today to be able to thrive in 2030. Okay, so I would want to direct my first question to Rajat and Arvind on what are some of the biggest shifts that you're observing in terms of the expectations that we have from a CMO today, that a CEO or a board has from the CMO of today. Are there any big shifts, or are they fairly same that they were in the previous years?
Thanks, Soumya. And first and foremost, I think what you just narrated as a background to this panel should be ideally recorded and played in front of the CEO and board members as to how great the CMOs are. So thanks for that. So I feel there was only a one way, and I can purely come from my perspective of having played this role for multiple tech companies, and that too in B2B space, so I will wear that hat. CMO's role was always, most of the times, and it is still today, outward looking. Outward, customer, partner, numbers. And the role was aligned to the person that he was reporting to, which is the CEO of the organization. In most of the cases, the poor guy was a sales head tagged as a CEO. Therefore, the KPIs were all the time aligned only with the outward metrics. In today's world, and especially post-COVID era, a CEO's role has changed. Hence, the CMO's role is changing. Point number two, the board members, the MD or the chairman of the organization, the person who loves the brand like his own baby, is looking at his replica to be a CMO to lead this, lead the brand in the marketplace. These are two things which I feel are changing rapidly.
I think fundamentally a lot of changes are happening. The role of marketing traditionally has been to build the brand. Now there is a lot of focus on impact on business. So I do not think that in the age of AI, marketeers will do things very differently. What will change is the way marketing is done, the way we use technology to do marketing will evolve. Yeah, so fundamentally, even in the old days or even now, marketing has been about creating brand and business impact. Yeah, whether you are a CMO, whether you are a CEO, or whether you are a CHRO, end of the day, business comes first. So marketing or a marketeer or a CMO has to understand that there has to be deep impact on business. So you can't run campaigns, you can't create strategies which don't have business impact. What is changing essentially is in the age of AI and with technology coming in, marketeers cannot only be brand custodians. They need to understand technology. They need to understand how technology works. They need to understand business deeply. It's not about superficial knowledge about company's business. You need to have deep knowledge about company's solutions, GTM, how sales is happening, where is it happening, and how can you accelerate. And third, which is according to me very critical, marketeers need to become more as also the chief experimental officers. Marketing is all about experimenting, thinking new, and not, I mean, it's not about thinking new and doing whatever you think you have to do. It is about thinking new, but it has to be differentiated. But you have to be very clear with your vision that whatever new you are thinking in terms of technology, in terms of a campaign, or a long-term vision for the brand which you are creating or for the company, how is it going to help top line and bottom line? And using technology, if you can accelerate, then you will not be a marketer of today, you will be a marketer of tomorrow.
And help me understand if there is a different perspective in terms of the genders that we're talking about. So please answer this from a gender perspective as well. So traditionally, a marketer was evaluated with respect to the business brand awareness and the sales lift that it brought on the table, right? So with now the KPIs are changing. Is there sorry, I'm so sorry. So with the KPIs changing now to more data-driven metrics, how are you really defining success for yourself and within your teams to be able to thrive better in the years to come?
Yeah, I think, like you said, I think the roles have changed. I mean, the metrics have evolved over a period of time, but not significantly. See, at the end of the day, the marketer's role is not just to improve the metrics for the brand, but also improve business, right? So like you said, the brand metrics as well as the sales lift. But I think what has become more important now, especially from my perspective, right, is to create that link and make it visible and make it understandable to the other members or the other functions, right? So it's very important for you to explain how marketing actions are making an impact on revenue, on the sales lift, right? And at least one of the things that we have been able to establish, at least at Motorola, is a very strong correlation to search, right? We have seen that a lot of marketing actions are able to drive searches, right? And the right marketing actions are able to drive searches. We've been able to establish a correlation between the search share of category versus market share of category. We believe that search is a lead indicator to market share. And hence, we've been able to now inculcate that as a metric across functions. So today, the sales head, the CEO of the company, everybody looks at searches today. And if the search metric is growing and the business metric follows, if there is a dip, people follow. So there is strong recognition of that metric. So I think it's not that the core metrics have changed. You end up driving brand and business metrics altogether. But how do you ensure that you create those metrics and then make sure that everybody, all CXOs understand that, the CFO understands it, the CEO understands it, and are as passionate about it as you are as the CMO. So that's what we have been driving at Motorola, and that is one of my biggest KPIs for myself and the team as well.
Thanks, Soumya. Good evening, everybody. I think very interesting question, and I'll take implication from what Rajat just mentioned, that I think what's happening is the accountability of a marketer is increasing. And I think that's a very positive change. It just makes our seat at the table more prominent, very significant and critical for the business. And the way I see it and the way we are kind of working out KPIs and metrics for the team is that gone are the days wherein marketing was just about, it's a fancy function. They just make some very good content, they play some nice videos, and gone are those days. And you will have a nice top of mind awareness increase and you're done. I think that accountability of driving business is increasing. You have to match your brand funnel to the sales funnel. That's very clear. And I think balancing the long term and short term, because traditionally as marketers, how we have grown up is that brand is long term, right? Don't ask me for ROI today. I'm building brand. It will take time. I think people have started seeing through that. And I think it's good. It cannot be only long term. There cannot be a long term if there is no short term. So you have to balance the short term metrics. You have to see what your channel marketing is contributing. What are your trade marketing actions? What are your pricing actions? How are they leveraging your brand building that you are doing? I think it's a more holistic approach. So those would be my short term KPIs, how I am tweaking my trade marketing actions, what am I doing in terms of pricing to manage competition aggression. And then how is that kind of getting completely overlaid with my brand actions. So those become my long-term metrics, but short-term business growth accountability is very critical. That's how I feel it's evolving.
Okay. I would want to take cue from there and ask Gunjit the same question. How do you really balance your short-term ROI pressures with the long-term brand building with respect to your measurement frameworks?
Cool. Thanks for the question, and firstly, thanks for having us over. Super excited to be here. I just realized that we are all CMOs sitting out here, but we are operating with just one touch point. It's getting passed on. There are multiple touch points on the table. Actually, we can use them. Cool. So your question is that this always asked question of long-term versus short-term KPIs or whatever. So see, the thing is, at the end of the day, it's all about strategy. If the strategy is clear, how much you need to invest in the long term versus short term, depending upon what your business is, what your brand requires at that point in time, there is generally not any debate between the two. Okay? Because very clearly as CMOs, we would deploy the money for long term brand health depending upon the strategy. We will deploy the money for the short term depending upon what the strategy is. So let me give you a very simple example, but an extreme example. We always talk about new product launches or new brand launches, but let me talk to you about something which at the outset feels like an equity campaign. Okay? So last year at Colgate, we came up with a campaign which was called the Oral Health Movement. In the Oral Health Movement, the overall objective is to help improve India's oral health and beauty. Sounds very equity. It's very high purpose, right? Why is that the case? Because 9 out of 10 Indians have a cavity, only 1 out of 10 realize that they do. 5 out of 10 have a gum problem, only 1 out of 10 realize that they do. And they realize it that they have a problem only when it becomes a painful outcome and they have to rush to a dentist. So we said, we need to provide people awareness about what's happening inside their mouth and then access to dentists. Tall order, brand building, high purpose. What are the short-term KPIs here, right? But when we designed the campaign in a way where not only the purpose was important, but short-term KPIs were equally relevant. We came up with you could just scan a QR code, answer a few questions, send 3 pictures, you will get a dental screening report. Based on your PIN code, you will be allocated to certain dentists who are there in your particular geography. You can get a free dental checkup. So we divided our entire campaign into 2 separate buckets. On the top was create awareness about their campaign and raise the importance of oral care. But under that was a full-blown funneled performance marketing approach to get people to scan the QR code and screen. The touch points were completely different, the KPIs were completely different, and the money allocated was done accordingly. You are prioritizing reach and frequency at the top end and measuring brand health, awareness, and all of those things on the top. But at the bottom, you are measuring what is the most cost-effective way for me to get conversions with 30 different touch points, every day being optimized for performance. Yeah? So something that seems like a tall order equity thing also has a long-term, short-term associated with it. So I think if your strategy is clear, there is never a problem between long-term and short-term.
That makes complete sense. Thank you. Shivam and Arvind, my next question is actually for you. So we're observing that the CMO of today is expected to, collaborate with the CIOs, CHROs, and even the CFOs for that matter. How do you see the role of marketing in driving an organization-wide transformation in that sense?
Yeah, I think a very important point. See, I think traditionally what the CMOs have been seen to do is to drive, just the brand metrics, through campaigns and promotions and etc. But I think the job is of the CMO is not limited to that at all, right? It is, the CMO is supposed to be the proponent of consumer experience at every touch point, right? And if you look at the other touch points for consumers, right? What are the other touch points? Service is a touch point. So the chief customer service officer is another touch point that you have to liaison with to ensure that the consumer experience is great there. What about product? In our case, we are a product company. Product is a very big touch point for the consumer. That is the core of the consumer experience. So the CMO has to play a role in every touch point to ensure that the consumer experience is prominent and the best. So whether it is the product experience, whether it is the service experience, or even the employee experience. And you have to really, for a CMO to today say, okay, my brand values are inclusion, right? Inclusivity, inclusion, etc. You have to first make sure that your workplace is diverse enough, right? So who do you collaborate with? You collaborate with the CHRO there, right? To say, let's ensure we live by the values that the brand talks about. If you don't do that, and just communicate things in campaigns, you won't be able to really, be effective enough. So I think that is why it is extremely important for a CMO today to work collaboratively with different functions, heads of functions, to be able to ensure that the consumer experience at every touch point is.
I think this brings me to my KPI Excel sheet, which I was scared to look at, especially when it is one edge closing. In my organization is divided into two halves. One is an outward looking organization, which is looking at customers, partners, products, marketplace, regulatory, public policy, media, PR. And the other leader in my organization is looking at all the internal KPIs, which is employee engagement scores. How can we make organization more compliant? How can we partner with CIO and CISO to make organization risk-free and stand against the threats like cyber and all the other things that are happening. In fact, a lot of phishing is happening. We were discussing about the banana meme that is going on, the banana campaign that is going on. All of these things, how do we make an organization more resilient against everything that is happening around us? How many times do you have a cup of coffee with your CFO and understand what are his pain points, and pretty much looking at the outside KPIs and the inside KPIs, or outward looking KPIs and inward looking KPIs? I feel the key is to have the communication pillar with you. So most of the CMOs do not have internal communication, employer and talent branding as part of their KPI, and that's a reality. If you want to broaden your horizon, I think first and foremost is to have a wider platform like this so that you can have multiple pillars. That's what gives us a lot of confidence in front of, or rather it gives the management, the board members, the CEO a lot of confidence that this is one go-to person, this is one shop which will give me all the answers. And that earns credibility in front of your internal stakeholders. These are my 2 cents to the cause.
All right. Yes.
So I want to jump in here because I think coming from different organizations in different industries also gives us the power as a group here to provide different perspectives, right? When I heard your question, Soumya, I actually felt that it's an irrelevant question. That of course everybody in the C-suite has to work with everybody. How is it even possible that you don't need to work with anyone? But the second part of your question, which is how can the marketing team have a broader impact? At least in my organization, the CMO's job is seen as the chief growth architect. It is the marketer's job, it is the CMO's job to actually set the vision of the organization along with the CEO. It is the CMO's job to craft the strategy very, very clearly. It is the CMO's job to articulate what the commercial plan is against that strategy, and then run the entire end-to-end omni-channel demand generation program so that sales actually comes in. In fact, recently our entire leadership team traveled to Vietnam because our global leadership team from New York had traveled there, and India being one of the key markets, we had to present our strat plan to them. It was a 5-hour session. Out of the 5 hours, I presented for 4 hours. Because the vision, strategy, and the commercial plan comes from the CMO, who is the chief growth architect. So I think the job of the CMO is a job that has the widest impact on the organization.
Pat on the back for that. Okay, so my next question is for Rajat, Ipshita, and Gunjit again. What are some of the non-negotiable leadership qualities that a CMO must have to be able to have a seat on the CEO's table?
Okay, I'll go. I think some of the non-negotiables in my experience are today, first is financial acumen. I think it's an absolute non-negotiable now. You have to be very savvy commercially and financially. You have to understand P&L. I mean, you have to really get deep into your business P&L and understand what's contributing what are your costs, how can you optimize, that's very critical. Second, I think the ability to decode from clutter. There is so much of clutter and overload of information with democratization of technology, that's a given, right? Everything is accessible to everybody. There's too many jargons, too many things happening around. So the ability to actually simplify, decode meaningful insights out of that. I think, and that is why I completely agree with what he said. Why do CMOs get entrusted with crafting strategy? Because they are the custodians of consumer insight. At the end of the day, any business runs on insight. It's about people, right? We are in the business of people. And we are the custodians who know what the insights about our target audiences are. So that ability to decode that meaningful insight from the clutter is, I think, again, a very completely a non-negotiable. And third, I would say, is agility. You have to be agile. You have to take calls on the go. You can't say, okay, I made a long-range plan till 2030, and there are 5 strategies in that, and each strategy has 10 tactics, and I will only stick to that. It will not work. Every maybe 6 months you will have to go back to it. Every 1 year you will have to go back to it. So you have to have that agility.
Rajat, what are your thoughts?
I think totally agree with Ipshita. And from my perspective, you can't be a CMO if you don't have financial acumen. Yeah, you cannot become marketing head of a company if you don't understand how things work from a commercial standpoint. What, according to me, is important now and fundamentally will be important is, one, are you bold enough to drive change in the organization? When you are in a C-suite, I agree with Gunjit, you need to collaborate with everyone. It's not about your management team. You need to collaborate with management team in India, outside India, regionally or globally, but you need to have that bold ambition to make things happen. That is fundamentally one of the differentiating skill set which marketing leaders need to have. Okay, supply chain leader, human resources leaders will also drive transformation, but it is the marketing leader of the organization who has to set, along with the CEO, the bold ambition, growth ambitions for the group, for the company. The second skill which I think is extremely important is technology. Many organizations have various functions where you have marketing, you have digital, you have IT, etc. Technology knowledge is absolute must. In the age of AI, there is nothing called as digital marketing and brand marketing and comms. In 2 years, everyone will be a digital marketeer. So the marketeer, the marketing head, the CMO, or even the teams under that CMO need to think technology first. But technology from a parlance of business impact. You can't just keep on trying new tools or technologies and later you realize that after 1 year or 2 years of pilot, that is like a failed investment. The third thing, according to me, is creativity. In the age of AI, with more AI, creative marketeers will be able to be easily identified, even more than today. Because when everyone is using the same ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot, really, I mean, people are going to see which are the brands, which are the marketeers who can think differently, who can think creatively, who can bring emotions in machines. You have to really have that art of feeling emotions within machines. So from my perspective, these 3 things are important for now, but even from a future standpoint, they will be even more critical.
Okay, Gunjit, your thoughts?
So, interesting. You asked the question, seat at the CEO's table. Once someone told me, either you have a seat at the table or you'll be served for lunch. so we rather have a seat at the table. And for the seat, I don't have much to add actually, because everyone's saying absolutely the stuff that I would have said as well. 3 attributes. First, strategic clarity. Second, financial proficiency. Third, courage. These 3 for me would be the must-haves.
All right, okay. So my next question is again for Arvind and Shivam and Rajat, if you also want to pitch in. How will the teams of 2030 really look like? Would there be more data strategists, data scientists or creatives, or perhaps a new blend of a new blend altogether? How will that look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think 5 years down the line, and the way at which, at the pace at which technology is moving, I'm sure, things will evolve pretty fast. And I think, as you mentioned just now, right? I mean, it's very important for digital, right? I mean, the knowledge of data, analytics, digital, all of that is growing at a rapid pace, and AI is, of course, going to be accelerating at the speed of light. So, I think, some skill sets will remain, right? For example, the skill sets that I believe will continue to remain are the skill sets of, creativity, around creativity, right? So, creativity that is not following a particular trend, right? Pattern breaking. See, that is the strength of human. So, whatever is the strengths of human, I think strategic thinking, creativity, which are not following patterns or trends, I think that those things will continue to be relevant and will stay important from a marketer perspective. But I think a lot of roles will evolve to become hybrid, which I think you mentioned briefly. I think it will be, for example, today, even in the creative front, right, we are not just looking for the standard or old-fashioned art and copy guys. We're actually looking for creatives who are able to use AI to churn out, better, faster, more personalized communication for consumers. So we will need maybe, creative technologists, for example, right? I mean, those kind of roles will evolve for sure, and we will see these kind of hybrid sort of roles evolving in the space of marketing as well, as the role of AI and data sciences and machine learning, all of that continues to increase. But like I said, right, I think it will, certain skill sets which are core to marketing, like storytelling, understanding insights, consumer insights, right? Data and patterns is something that, of course, will be a lot, right? Like Ipshita mentioned, right? I mean, democratization of data. Data will be there everywhere, but understanding the right insights and then applying it, I think that will still be something that will remain core to what exists today. But yes, roles will evolve.
So, I think tech, data, today we talk about digital transformation, we are talking about AI, we are talking about tools. This will be just a ticket. Your mindset and the ability to simplify a complex challenge is the visa on your passport. That's the future of marketing. Marketers who will, irrespective of the level, experience, anyone who will have a perfect balance and use, by the way, of the left brain and the right brain would be a successful marketer of tomorrow. That's what, simply put, I can think about.
I don't think so. Anyone can predict what will happen in 5 years. No one was able to predict 5 years ago that how big ChatGPT will be. Yeah, but what I believe that fundamentally, marketing teams will not be teams of only humans. Marketing teams will be a combination of humans and machines. So machines, in the age of agentic AI, when machine to machine marketing is going to happen, the team is not human beings. I believe that there would be a team which is individuals like us or human beings, and then there is another team which is also your team if you are in marketing, which are agents. So there is an agent, and the agent has to talk to another agent in a different company, negotiating contracts, negotiating pricing, sometimes upselling, yeah, or adding more value. So I think this would be happening. But what I believe, because I come from Schneider Electric, very proud to work for the most sustainable company in the world, I believe one thing which will definitely happen in most of the marketing teams in the coming years is a lot of focus on responsible marketing. Because today's generation is focusing on responsible marketing. You need to be very responsible in terms of how you are consuming things, how are you consuming information, how are you using products. So I would definitely see sustainability becoming an integral part Sustainability is not about running a different department and there is a sustainability department. I see marketing to become one of the lead functions where sustainability or sustainability marketeers will be must to have. If we scan almost all organization, we don't have sustainability or sustainability marketeers in most of the companies. That is going to be, according to me, a very, very important trend with traceability becoming very critical. And I see most of the companies pretty dramatically changing their teams to stay ahead of others.
Okay, understood. In the interest of time, we will have to wrap the session, but I will not let you go so easily. There is a fun segment which is planned for you. So you try and make it as fun as possible. My last question is for each of you and just one-line answers. If you were to build the future CMO playbook, what would be that one golden rule that you will write on the first page of it? So make it as fun as possible. Arvind, we'll go with you first.
I'm not sure whether it is fun, but definitely the future CMO playbook is for all of us to create more CMOs of future. And that will happen when all of us, God willing, most of us, take up the roles of CEOs. And trust me, this is not fun. This is something that we all should be working towards.
It's a tough one, but I'll say one thing what I would add is no termination or changing of CMOs for experimentation so soon. Yeah, so more appetite for failures is something which I would say.
Stay true to the core, continue to do storytelling which connects with consumers. I think that's going to be key for any CMO, irrespective of how much technology comes.
Yeah, I think we've been all talking about technology. I would say, day and age, be consumer driven.
I think I'll just repeat something that somebody told me, which I've already said before, that be the one who creates and serves the lunch rather than being eaten for lunch. Yeah. So you are the growth architect, be that.
On that note, I would want to thank all of you for taking out time for today, and I'm sure the audiences will have a lot of takeaways from this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.